I guess you were recording.
Now I am, for sure.
Okay. Yeah. So calling this meeting to order. We'll do the roll call. Councilmember Nusma is here. Councilmember Burns
Here.
is here. Mayor Biss is absent. Myself, Councilmember Reed, Chair. I am here. All right. So let us get the meeting underway. I'm having difficulty finding the Participatory Budgeting Committee on the city's website.
Yeah.
Is it not listed there as one of the?
They redid the website, and I still need to fix it. But the agenda, the link to the Participatory Budgeting Committee goes to the Participatory Budgeting page, not the Participatory Budgeting Committee page.
Mm-hmm. I'm just also not seeing.
Can you pull up the agenda, Matt, if you don't mind, if you can share your screen?
Yeah, give me a second.
All right, I have the agenda in front of me.
Great.
Okay, so let's start off with the approval of the September 29th Participatory Budgeting Committee meeting minutes. May I have a motion on that?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Nusma, seconded by myself, Councilmember Reed. We'll vote on that. Councilmember Nusma.
Aye.
Councilmember Burns. Myself, aye. Okay, wonderful. The ayes have it. I guess we'll move the introductions down to the discussion portion. So for consideration, we have approval of participatory budgeting marketing campaign contract. This is a contract in the amount of pretty much $25,000. This will be coming from the funds that the $500,000 that was allocated for running the PB program, and the consultant here is Green Alley Strategies. Is there any discussion on that item? Or actually, may I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Nusma, seconded by Councilmember Burns. Okay, I just have, if there's no questions on that, I have
questions.
Go ahead. Councilmember Burns.
Matt, I sent you a few consulting companies. I think there was one out of, I don't know, the West Coast or something. I'm just curious what were did you get bids from other companies, and what was the process that led you to arrive at Green Alley Strategies?
Yeah, so because the number is below 25,000, we're able to do a request for bids instead of a formal RFP process. So I developed a scope of work with you and Councilmember Reed, and then we also worked together to develop a list of potential vendors, and I did my best to find a good contact email for all the firms and the vendors that we looked at. In some cases, that is just sending that to their info at whatever firm.com. And so I had it posted for 2 weeks and requested bids for this work. And Green Alley Strategies was the only one that submitted a proposal.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure. All right, thanks.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Any further questions? Seeing no further questions, I just as chair have a question. And Matt, I remember working with you on the budget. What do we have allocated in total for this kind of work?
Mm-hmm. So in total for our outreach budget, which includes this contract and other printable materials that we might want to use as part of the campaign and this work that we're doing, we have budgeted about $80,000. So this will take a portion of that, but other portions of that would be printable materials for, because that's not part of this contract, so we'll have to print anything and share that, any physical work. So this is mostly focusing on the digital outreach. So the remaining portion of that budget would be for printable materials or other outreach.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's helpful. Okay, then with that, I am fine.
I mean, I guess
with
the other question is, have we, and we could also follow up this on maybe one of the calls you have with Councilor Reed, but have we identified what the other outreach is, and is it that would it be the design of the printable materials and the cost to print the materials?
So we have some design items already, and this contract does include, with Green Alley Strategies, includes consulting costs and as well as some design work that they will do for us. So the rest of the budget, looking at doing mailers or door hangers, postcards, flyers, things like that. That's kind of the idea for the rest of the outreach budget, but it's not. So we have ideas, but we don't have like a specific plan yet.
I see. Okay, so the cost to mail, to send out the mail and all of that, not just the print, the cost to print, but also the cost to mail would come out of that remaining amount. Okay, and then what was I about to say? Oh, the ad spend, would that come out of, for the digital campaign, would that come out of the 24, or will come out of the remaining amount?
As I read the contract, the proposal, that will come out of the $24.99, or yeah, $24,999.
And did we specify like how much of that should go towards ad spend, or we left it up to them to decide?
In the proposal they provided, they gave how much they would spend on that.
And what did they say?
number of impacts, and I think it was, I don't want to misquote, but I remember reading that there will be 10,000 folks that are hit a number of times. I think the whole universe will be hit at least once. They break down what.
And what's the cost? What are they going to allocate?
Maybe it's $10,000 of it. Matthew can maybe explain it better than I do.
Yep. So the paid digital ads was $10,000 of paid digital ads, $5,000 during the idea collection phase, which we're in now. So that will be spent mostly during January, and $5,000 of paid ads during the Get Out the Vote campaign is the language that I used, and that they used in their proposal as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, and I just do want to note, I was excited to read and hear about the interest that this firm has in this, which I think will be exciting, that they're bringing some genuine interest in this project. So excited to work with them.
Council, questions from my fellow council members. Have you guys ever heard of this firm or worked with them before?
I've never worked with them.
I have worked with them. This is one of the, I think, 3 or 4 firms that I sent to Matt.
Okay. I'm just curious. Yeah, they seem like they know what they're doing.
Yeah. Okay. With that, all those in favor, I'm sorry, I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Nutzma?
Aye.
Councilmember Burns?
Aye.
Myself, aye. And I don't think Mayor Biss has joined us. So with that, the motion passes. And that brings us on to our last order of business. And I'm sorry, the fire department is calling me. Okay. And our last item is discussion participatory budgeting program updates. May I have a motion to discuss this?
So move.
Moved by Councilmember
Second.
Newsom, seconded by Councilmember Burns. All right, well, I'll just give a quick introduction and then turn it over to Matt. We have, since the last time we've met, the PB program is fully underway. We are also staffed up now. I think this is a development in the last, 2 weeks, week or two, that we're now fully staffed up. And so I'd love for us to have Matt introduce the new team members and talk a bit about what has been going on with PB thus far.
Great, thank you, Councilmember Reed. So I'll start and then I'll pass it over to Matt Easterday to give an extended update. So we've had so far 2 idea collection assemblies. One was the pilot idea collection assembly that we held at Noise. And we had about 30 people there between volunteers and attendees and leadership committee members to kind of get used to the idea of how to do a idea collection assembly. And then we held an event on November 22nd at Robert Crown, where we had about 40 participants in the idea collection assembly. And we also were able to provide interpretation for Spanish speaking folks who came. And we also provided childcare for the folks who came, and that all went well. So that was exciting to be able to pull off an event like that. We also recently brought on Indona Muboyaye as the participatory budgeting field manager and Celia Carlino as the participatory budgeting coordinator. Indona, I'll give a brief introduction, and if you want to say any more, please do. But Indona has extensive experience working in Evanston, maybe not literally working, but as part of the civically engaged community in Evanston. She's on committees and boards with several vital organizations for civic life in the city of Evanston, and she is leading our outreach. She's been doing outreach to several different organizations to help ensure that we're reaching all the people that we need to reach, and she's increased our capacity quite a lot. And Celia Carlino, same for you. If I missed anything or if there's anything you want to add, please do. Celia is the participatory budgeting coordinator. She has been volunteering in the schools as part of the Willard School program. She helped plan a event for Hispanic Heritage Month for the schools for the last couple years, and is bringing that experience with community outreach and engagement to the team. Yeah, so Indona first, and then maybe Celia, if you have anything that you would like to add or to introduce yourselves, please do.
Well, I was just going to say that I think Councilmember Reed and Burns, I think a little bit more than Councilmember Newsma, have seen me around quite a lot in town, in committee meetings and about town. So I'm just happy to be here, and I think they know me quite well. And I'm out at meetings and events, and I'm talking about participatory budgeting to the best of my ability, and I'll continue to do so.
I saw Indona with a PB yard sign, and I need one. I almost took hers off her.
You tried to take it.
That I can put in my window. But thank you for that intro. And of course we know Indona. Thank you.
Yes.
Celia, you're on mute.
Okay, yes. Hi, my name is Celia Carlino. I'm an immigrant. I am from Peru. Since I'm living here for almost 20 years, and I became a mom 10 years ago. And basically that opened to me a window to go to different places. I think that's the gift to have a child. They take us to places we will not be without them. So since that, I noticed I have to do something in my kids' school at Wheeler. There is a minority of the Spanish population and also Black American people too, since I noticed the need of some of the representations. So I was volunteering for the school in the Spanish Heritage event. I also support the Black African American events too. I love to engage with people, and I think when I saw the opportunity to also help PB, I just want to put myself there to serve the community the best in my capacity. And I'm here to serve you and learn from each of you. And hopefully you learn from me too, my points of as an immigrant and how much we can do together and make our community more stronger. That's it.
Thank you. If I can jump in really quick, I just want to, one, I'm just really excited about this team that has been put together by Matt and folks. Really excited that both of you chose to get involved here. I'm glad that we got 2 Evanston residents. I'm glad that we have a diverse team. Celia, I believe you're fluent in Spanish. And then Indona, I believe you speak French, Indona?
I speak 4 languages.
You speak 4? Yeah, please.
Including French.
Including French.
Yeah.
And so what are the other 3?
Lingala, Chiluba, Kikongo, and I do understand Swahili.
Okay. And so, I think that will really help us, particularly with our immigrant populations. We know that we have a large immigrant population of Latin descent, but we also have a large population of African descent. And, one of the, we have a lot of folks from the Côte d'Ivoire and, or the Ivory Coast and, Congo, and I believe
Côte d'Ivoire.
Côte d'Ivoire. Yeah.
Yeah, Côte d'Ivoire.
And so, we need this language, expertise here to help us authentically engage with those folks. And I'm just really excited to see it. And thank you for correcting my horrible pronunciation in French. I think I made that up when I was a teenager and have just stuck with it ever since. Okay, well, thank you.
Bienvenue y bienvenidos.
All right. Go ahead, Matt. Sorry.
Yeah, and I was just going to pass it to Matt Easterday to give a brief update on kind of the outreach that we're doing and the work that we're doing even further.
Okay, can everyone hear me and see that screen okay? Cool, and I'll be brief, but I just want to give some more details, some of the points Matt raised. So we are now into the idea collection phase, which is super exciting. And I want to talk a little bit about the capacities for PB, because I think this will be useful for the PB committee to think about how we're doing and gearing up both for this process and hopefully processes in the future. So I think last time we talked, we had the budget allocated, we had the PB manager, and I think we're about 4 months behind schedule. But now, like we said, we're now fully staffed up, we're on schedule, and we have a great team. So that is super, super exciting. So that's sort of the government capacity side. On the technical capacity, we've been moving ahead on track with the idea collection assembly guides and trainings. We have the rule book developed, and we have a bunch of our outreach guides and trainings developed now. So that's moving along just how we want it to be. And we're really proud of that work so far. And then the sort of third capacity, which we haven't really talked about as a committee before, is the community capacity. And this is really the ability and skills of our community, both to actually implement the process, but also most importantly, do outreach. So we've been working on developing, we didn't really have like a community partner when we started the process. So we've basically been inventing our own. So we now have pbevanston.org with 30 active volunteers and 1,200 signups. The structure of our group right now, we have our steering committee, which is divided up into a bunch of different teams around, basically around pulling off these different assemblies. And then we also have these 4 or 5 other teams, mostly Northwestern students, who are doing outreach. And sort of our goal now is to kind of integrate the efforts of all these different teams, both for doing outreach, but also implementing the process. So there's about, between these two groups, about 70 volunteers. And what we're going to be doing over the next, 2 quarters or so is really building them up so that they can pull off assemblies and do outreach. So far, we've done 41 canvassing events, which is huge. That's about 400 hours of work of canvassers. 875 of these are face-to-face signups. So this is someone went up to a stranger in Evanston, told them about PB and got them to sign up. And then we have about 1,250 in the database altogether. And we have like really kind of steady progress that's increasing. So we're really happy about that. In terms of idea collection, what we've been working on for the last couple of months. So like Matt said, we've done a pilot assembly and our first like official assembly, and it looks like we have about 8 more planned, which is great. We were only planning on doing, I think, 5 or 6. So we're already way above what we were hoping to do. And that's because we have excited volunteers and steering committee members who want to do this. In terms of our metrics for idea collection, we're way ahead on signups. So original goal by the end of the process was to get 1,400 people signed up. We're already at 1,250. If we continue at that speed, which we're hoping is an underestimate, will be like more than double where we wanted to be. We were planning to do 5 or 6 assemblies. It looks like we're signed up to do 9 by February. We're shooting for 200 attendees. With just the pilot and the first assembly, we're already at 71. So we're way past that number in terms of our progress. For ideas, we were hoping to collect 60. We're already at 329. And for budget delegates, this is maybe the most exciting. So we're hoping to get 30 signed up by the end of, or the start of February. And we already had 33 people sign up. So we might even have too many budget delegates. Now, those are signups, those aren't like showing up, but it's still great progress. So that's all going really well. And one really exciting piece of data. So there's this thing called the Net Promoter Score, which is basically like, would you recommend this to a friend? And at the Robert Crown Assembly, our Net Promoter Score was 78%, which is higher than Apple. It's like, it's crazy. It's really good. People are basically enjoying this and saying that this is something they want to do. Just FYI, like some of the popular idea categories that are coming up are healthcare and public health, of course, housing infrastructure, economic development, environment, and education. So again, very aligned with ARPA, and people seem to be really taking the purpose of this funding in this process to heart in terms of improving Evanston. And then just one last thing I wanted to share, and this is really to Councilmember Burns' point about how we include people at the assemblies. I'm going to try to share this 2-minute video that Celia took at the last idea collection assembly. And if that doesn't work, I'll just read it out, some of the quotes from it. But let me see if I can play it for you. Okay, let's see if this works. Just kind of give me a thumbs up if you can hear it.
Les vamos a entrevistar voy a entrevistarlos a ellos, así que vamos a necesitar a Sacho.
Ok, a ver, Gabriel.
Venga más cerca de mí, por favor, para que...
Ok, so, Gabriela, es un placer tenerte aquí en esta reunión.
Gabriela, it's a pleasure having you here at the meeting.
¿Cómo te has sentido en la reunión?
How have you felt here?
Me ha encantado participar, compartir mis ideas, ya que
share my
Vivimos en
ideas
esta
because we
comunidad
do live in this community.
y me siento muy contenta de poder participar y que me tomen en cuenta las ideas de las familias que vivimos en Evanston y nuestros niños que están creciendo en esta comunidad.
Family and the fact that my children are being raised here in this community.
¿Qué es lo que más te ha impresionado de esta reunión?
What has impressed you the most about this meeting?
Me encantó la idea de ver muchos colores en esta junta.
I loved being able to see many different colors here in this meeting.
Ajá, eso me hace sentir muy contenta de vivir en esta comunidad.
This makes me feel very content to be living in this community.
¿Tú invitarías a más personas?
Would you invite other people to come?
Sí, claro.
Yes, of course.
Okay. ¿Quisieras invitarles a hacer un anuncio de invitar a más personas de colores a que vengan, a que se sientan?
Would you like to make an announcement or to invite people to be able to come to see more of those colors?
Sí, me encantaría invitar a todas las familias que vengan a participar, a compartir sus ideas para mejorar esta comunidad, porque tenemos que estar juntos y unidos podemos hacer el cambio para Evanston.
Yes, I'd like to urge families to come with all of their ideas, to bring them all, and we can gather all of those ideas and make Evanston an even better place.
Thank you for coming. Now tenemos a Rocío, nuestra otra participante del Participatory Budgeting. Rocío, ¿cómo te sientes el día de hoy?
Bueno, pues me siento muy contenta de estar aquí hoy. Es una gran oportunidad y que pues nos escuchen nuestras ideas.
I feel very glad to be here, and it's great to have our ideas heard.
¿Tú te sientes que tus ideas se escucharon en esta reunión?
Do you feel that your ideas were heard in this meeting?
Sí.
Yes.
¿Cómo te sientes al sentirte escuchado?
And how do you feel to be heard?
Pues me siento bien, me siento porque estamos hablando por muchas personas. O sea, mi idea que tengo es para ayudar a toda la comunidad, ya que Evanston es un gran lugar para vivir.
Yeah, I feel like the ideas that I'm sharing them on behalf of a lot of families because Evanston is a great place to live.
¿Tener un intérprete es bueno en las reuniones?
Sí, nos ayuda muchísimo Sacha. De verdad es increíble porque muchas veces las comunidades no se sienten tan confortables como yo. Hoy me sentí, pues, siempre estoy en los mini, pero hoy me sentí súper más confortable porque estoy escuchando simultáneamente todo lo que está.
¿Y entendiste todo bien?
Claro que
con
sí.
la ayuda de tu intérprete.
Sí, claro que sí.
Did you feel like it was helpful to have an interpreter here at the meeting? Yes, it was very helpful because I was able to understand everything, and a lot of people, like a lot of families, can't share everything, but to have an interpreter here and to be able to understand everything simultaneously and to allow me to share my ideas was great.
Y quiero felicitarlos por eso, que se toman el tiempo de tenernos intérpretes. Eso es muy, de verdad, muy productivo.
And I really would like to thank those who supported having interpreters at these types of events because it really makes for a productive event.
Okay. Muchas gracias.
De nada, un placer.
Thank you for coming.
So that's just a little taste of how people are reacting to the events. But again, really great having this like kind of community brainstorming and inclusive process about how to make Evanston better. And I think people are seeing that. So again, thank you everyone for supporting this and letting us do this work.
Yeah, well, thank you all for doing it. I really hope that while it's not cheap or free, that this becomes a model for engagement in the city around a whole host of issues, whether it be the continuation of PB or just, normal kind of run-of-the-mill things that the city engages in. And so I really appreciate you all taking this on and really putting your all into it. And looking forward to seeing even more of what comes out of this, the experiment here.
Yes, please. Thank you to spread the news, the coming events in your meetings. That will be very, very helpful.
Certainly. All right. With that, are there any further updates? If not, all right. Well then, thank you, everyone.
Sorry.
And I actually have some questions, but you can go ahead.
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that we do have other events that are coming up that are going to be hosted events. We just don't have the dates yet. We have one that's going to be hosted by the NAACP in conjunction with a couple of their partners, where they're going to have their own idea collection. And we're also going to have another one hosted by the Haitian Congress with the Daughters of Haiti, where they're going to host an event for the African and the Caribbean community. And we're just waiting for confirmation of their dates as well. And we're also going to have another event that's going to be hosted led by Stacy Maraney with a group of young people that he works with. And we're waiting for confirmation on that date as well. So we're still working, and we're just trying to get it all together to give you guys some more updates coming soon.
Will those be on the website?
Eventually, yes. Once we have the dates confirmed, yes.
And please keep me in the loop with those as well. If you can
Most
add me
definitely.
to the calendar invite or whatever it is, please.
Absolutely.
Councilmember Burns, I know you had questions, and I also know Matt wanted to add something.
Yeah, Matt, you can go ahead first.
I just wanted to draw attention to Indona's hand. So.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so my Indona answered a lot of my questions in a way. I wanted to get clear on, upcoming events and the different spaces we're creating. So I appreciate that update, and just making sure that this is such a wonderful opportunity that people will miss out on if we don't go to them directly and explain it and really just explain it. I think once it's explained, people will, find the motivation to participate. But everybody does not. Everybody is not drawn to, advertisements around participatory budgeting. That's not something that would draw their attention online. And so I appreciate, the coordinator and all the outreach efforts, because I think that's going to be necessary to get groups in who wouldn't typically interact with this type of, city initiative. So keep up the good work with all the direct outreach. And I guess so I can understand next steps. So you called something a pilot assembly. So what was the difference between that? Explain what happened there, and then the difference between that and the one that happened at Robert Crown and all the following assemblies.
Yeah, I can do that. So the pilot assembly was a limited invitation to leadership committee members and a list of PB Evanston volunteers that had already signed up. And the idea was to test the meeting style that has been developed by our partners at Northwestern University to make sure that it worked how we hoped it did. So that was the first meeting. And then that was just different from the next one in that it was a more open invitation, and we tried to get as many people as possible rather than just trying to get the leadership committee familiar with the method.
But the ideas that were shared in that pilot assembly still count towards the idea collection that we're doing. Okay.
Right.
And I want to touch back on that, but also what did we learn at the pilot meeting that, we were able to, incorporate into the following meeting?
So one thing I think we learned was that the methodology works well. One of the main goals is to recruit budget delegates because that is a heavy lift. And the net promoter number that Matt Easterday has been talking about is kind of a positive. All right, obviously it's a positive sign, but it shows that people are willing to enjoying what they're doing and willing to sign up to do more. And so that's kind of what we learned, was that the methodology worked pretty well, and there were some things that we could fine tune for meetings to come, like having some way to get people's attention back, for example, after they've had small group discussions.
Does anybody else want to share what they saw maybe in the first event? And
I think for me,
yeah.
My experience was this is something new for me, first time. So that kind of gave it to me an idea how to be a facilitator for the next assemblies. So for some people, maybe they have some experience, but the ones we don't, that was really the big picture, how to do the work for the next events coming up. So now I have my idea, I feel more confident. So that was my personal experience.
Yeah, and I'll add, after each of these, we kind of do like an analysis of how it went, what we wanted, and what we can fix in the next one. The first one went way better than expected, so that was a pleasant surprise. Most of the tweaks were around facilitation, so we kind of looked at how each small group worked, like what went well, what didn't well, and so then that became we developed a facilitator training around that, which all the steering committee and leadership committee members went through. So just like, every time we do it, we're looking at what we can improve and how we can build that back into the guides and the training. From the Robert Crown one, again, went really well. The hardest part there was there's a lot of, especially as the group size grows, there's a lot of like little roles that have to get done, and we don't always know which volunteers are going to show up or not show up. So one of the things we're going to do at the Ecology Center on Saturday is to have like really small but well-defined roles that we can assign to volunteers as they come. So there's just like all this facilitation and improvement that we can do each time. But so far things are yeah, they're going really smoothly. I don't know what else to say. I've never worked on a project that sort of has gone so well, so that's great.
On the note of facilitation, I was I think CC'd in an email with Jerry Garl, with one of the leadership committee members, I believe, who seemed to be trying to recruit facilitators. So how are we doing with finding facilitators for the meetings?
Yeah, there's a couple groups that we have. So we have the steering leadership committee. So those are all people that have signed up to help with the process and have been through training. We also have a group of Northwestern students that we've gone through similar training. In the original rule book, we recommended that the steering committee, leadership committee, each member commit to facilitating 2 assemblies, and they decided to do like commit to 1 and maybe do additional ones. And so it puts a little bit more of a burden on them to do outreach to people to recruit them to meetings, like who've gone through the trainings. So that one, what you're seeing is Jerry and Jackson, who are running the Ecology Center one, are doing some of that recruiting. So they're going out to both the leadership committee, people have all been trained. Also, we've sent out emails on PB Evanston with the same kind of message. So that's I think shifting some of the burden of the outreach onto the leadership committee is what you're seeing us testing for this next one. So we'll see how it goes. I think the outreach, in my opinion, is the hardest part of the PB process, because if people don't show up, it's not going to work. And so far so good, but we'll see at the next one if the outreach they're doing is sufficient, or if we need to amp that up and do some more training.
I have a few other questions, but I want to allow some time, allow an opportunity for from my fellow committee members to hop in. If
I'll also note there's a space, unless, Matt and I meet just about every Friday. And so if you want to join that space and ask questions, that's also an opportunity.
I think for some questions, let me see what else I have. For some of the questions, I really like to hear from the different perspectives. Matt,
and I will note, and Donna, and I think Celia will also be there on Friday, this Friday at least.
Okay. I guess just the final question is, what are we? I guess it's a twofold question. One is, are we seeing people bringing like their own idea, like organizational or individual ideas, or are they in small groups coming up with new ideas? And like how much? I'm sure there's a bit of both, but what percentage are we seeing, roughly speaking? Like how much of that is kind of organizational or individual ideas or projects, and ones that are kind of co-created at the events?
Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
Oh, yeah, I don't know if I have a good answer to that. I think like we haven't tried to quantify that because they don't tell us where the ideas are coming from. And so this might be a good one to get everyone's just kind of impression on. But my impression is it's all over the map. Like there's people coming in who just kind of, they live in Evanston, they don't have any particular ideas and they're kind of making them up as they go. There's people, you will see ideas that you hear floating around organizations and local news, but I don't get the sense that there's I haven't seen a lot of like organizations coming in with like a representative kind of pushing like what you would hear the organization say. They seem to be more like here's what I experience, or here's what I care about, or here's what I see families in my community caring about. So it seems to be a little bit more I'd say a lot more kind of like grassroots and individual, but I mean, we've all seen sort of different discussions, so maybe other people could give their impression, what they see happening in the small groups.
And just so it's clear, I think the reason why I ask that question is because it's the less structure there is to the idea, the more work it is for the next step to actually turn it into a fundable project, if that's the right way to put it. And so that leads me to the final question, which is just, what is that next phase? Like after we get all of these ideas, most of which may not have even that much structure, what is the body that's going to turn it into projects that we can actually fund and support?
Yeah, great question. So at this phase, there's kind of two goals. The ideas don't have to be very well developed. Like you'll see in the list, which we'll share once we get to the end of the process, and you can look at it now if you want. There's everything from kind of like a really clear project idea to like a vague need and everything in between. And so what we're trying to do, the really important things we have to get to now are really getting people excited about the process. So having them think about ideas is how they get excited about it, because then they have something that changed. Getting people to sign up to be budget delegates, we're going to do that work. So we want 30 people to sign up to participate from beginning of February to about the start of summer, to basically be doing the work of converting them. And we're so far way ahead on our signups for budget delegates. So that's great. It's not, and then get kind of the big categories of ideas so that the steering committee can decide how to break up the budget delegates into issue committees. So in terms of like idea development, it's okay if they're pretty ill-formed at this point, because we have a good amount of time for the budget delegates to flesh them out and then work with staff and do all the vetting. And I'm happy to talk more about the steps of that, but we're not super concerned if they have ill-formed ideas at this point. That's okay.
And the final thought is just that participation making sure we have kind of representative participation among the budget delegates is even more important when the ideas aren't as developed, because then there's a lot more work to do. And then that's kind of where the kind of power or influence lies in really shaping which projects kind of get what ideas turn into projects that have a shot at being funded. So let's make sure we do what we can to get some a good cross section of Evanston involved in that. And then I again brought this up because in other PB that I followed, oftentimes the budget delegates are like taking like more defined projects and just figuring out what the cost would be, right? As opposed to actually shaping the project itself, which I'm sure that's been included in some PB efforts, but that is a difference. And I just wanted to point that out. But that's all. Thank you, Matt and Chair.
Okay, Councilmember Nusma, I see that you have.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And picking up what Councilmember Burns was saying about a diverse cross-section of Evanston, I am wondering how many folks at the sessions we've had so far have been folks that are new to the process and not just the familiar faces that we see at Civi at public comment. I don't know if there's a way to quantify that, but I'm just curious on the qualitative feedback.
That might be hard for this group to identify. I mean, maybe folks can if you happen to just sit around and watch council meetings as
Doesn't
well.
Everybody?
Yeah, everybody doesn't do that. There aren't just 6 people on watching. But
I think even better direction might just be let's collect that moving forward, because I do think that's an important question. And sorry to cut you off, Chair. Good.
Sure. Yeah. Don't cut the chair off. Anyhow, I do want to. But from I've been to one event, the leadership event, and I will say that at that event, I did see quite a few new faces that aren't typically folks who are involved. Maybe folks who are kind of on the periphery and show up every so often to council. There's a term that goes around, the same 30 people. It doesn't feel like it's maybe the same periphery of 100 or so people that are kind of getting mixed in to this. And I think as the group expands out and does more and more, almost affinity-like events, we'll see even more folks jumping in.
Yeah, so I don't know if you're doing some data collection on folks, maybe the question is how many times have you spoken in public comment over the last year or something like that? Because I am interested in hearing, we know what the regulars are going to say. We want to make sure we're hearing what everyone else has to say too.
I can just very quickly, we do ask one question about prior civic engagement as defined by, in the past 12 months, have you worked with other people in your neighborhood to fix a problem or improve a condition in your community, not including work you may have done related to PB? And for that question from the Robert Crown Idea Collection event, it was roughly half that had said yes to that question. But so that's for that past one. But I don't think we ask about attending previous council meetings or anything to that degree. Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. We also do have the list of each attendee. So I don't know that I could code it, but if you want to look for the usual suspects, it would be very quick for you to determine. My sense is that so the leadership committee probably had the highest amount of people you might see at a council meeting. The pilot assembly had fewer, and the Robert Crown had like far fewer. So at least from the few people I recognize, like it seems like we're getting a pretty diverse or a set of people in Evanston who are not usually showing up to council meetings.
Good. All right, thanks. That's all I had.
Sorry, I couldn't unmute because I have a call coming in. So I see no further hands. So with that, I'm sorry, I do see a hand. Councilmember Burns.
Yeah, just quick thing to follow up on what Councilman Newsom said. I think, and I'll work with Matt on this at the Friday meeting Councilman Reed talked about. But I think we definitely should just get it in data. I like that first question that was just mentioned. I think that's a good one, and we might be able to add maybe one other. But I think we should understand it, not in necessarily scanning a list, but just a question that we ask at all the different events, which again, maybe it's a question not just about public comment, but just have you ever attended a similar, community meeting or city meeting, especially? Have you, frequent, do you, well, we can figure out exactly how to message it, but I appreciate that first question that we are asking, and that's all, Chair. Thank you.
All right. With that, seeing no further business before us and no further hands raised for comment, and I'm giving a pause to make sure that's the case. All right. With that, I call this meeting adjourned. Thank you all for attending. We'll see each other likely in a month or two or whenever it's appropriate for this committee to come back together.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays. Yes.